So just last week, Cyberpunk 2077 saw yet another 2-month delay on top of the original 5-month delay back in January. This was pretty disappointing, not gonna lie. And while it works out for me as I have vacation planned for September 20th, it still means another 40 days to wait until I get my hands on this game. But you know what? I'll live. I get that this stuff happens, and this has been quite the year for delays, so I'll accept it. Plus, as most of you know, I'm a huge Star Citizen fan, so I know all about delays. And I find myself a bit surprised at how poorly a large part of the gaming community handles something that I've become so accustomed to. So let's talk a bit about the absolute hate storm that spawned in the wake of this delay, and some of the weird reactions I've seen to this development. As always, if you enjoy my style and my content, then consider subscribing to me. And without further ado, thank you for coming to this Tomato Talk. CD Projekt Red should have known about this problem earlier. CD Projekt Red is pushing their release back to coincide with new consoles so people can double dip. CD Projekt Red is a horrible game developer and had years to figure all this out. How could they mess up now? Deliver your game, CD Projekt Red. Stop being a horrible company. I'll never buy a product from you again. I've seen all of these responses and more to this recent delay, and I'm absolutely amazed at how many people are truly unable to hold it together in the face of a video game delay, and how people are having trouble understanding why this might happen. You know what my theory for the delay is? Game development is freaking hard. Those who have tried even regular programming at the most basic level know this. I've only dabbled in a few languages so far, but I've had enough experience to realize how fickle creating proper software can be. And when you have to account for people doing everything in their power to break that software, that takes some proper foresight as well. Sometimes you miss that foresight. For whatever reason, something might get past you in the design phase, and it's not really discovered until QA gets their hands on it and really puts it through its paces. And when it is discovered, well, who knows if that bug is tied to very foundational systems that require a pretty significant rework of a large amount of code. Just a few months ago, Star Citizen was due to see capital ship battles introduced to the persistent universe. There was a lot of excitement surrounding this, as it was our first experience with large-scale conflicts, but ultimately the update was dropped last minute and pushed back to a later date. Now, many people believe Star Citizen is a scam and no progress is being made, but the truth is, the game is progressing slowly, despite the absolute onslaught of feature delays that the game sees. These delays, however, aren't unique. From what I understand of the industry, most games will progress through development for years before even being announced. And sometimes, still, the game is announced too early and certain roadblocks were not properly handled, leading to delays. But in that development time, features are constantly delayed, scrapped, refactored, revamped, reconcepted, and whatever else, because game development is an iterative process. Sometimes things just end up not meshing. Star Citizen, being an openly developed game, has a lot of that happen publicly, and every mistake the studio makes is open for the world to see and report on. CD Projekt Red has been silent about Cyberpunk's development for the majority of its life, and thus has avoided this for the most part. But now here we are, the year of the launch, and the game is very much public, very much anticipated, and very much in the spotlight. Unfortunately, the studio has had a bit of a goof announcing a release date before absolutely ready, and honestly, that's probably the big issue here. But at some point in the 3 to 6 month period prior to release, you do need to give people a heads up, so it's a tough position to be in. That being said, anything could have come up in the last 2 months of QA that may be quite literally game-breaking. The currency system may have been broken, the damage system could have lost all balance, etc., etc. The point is, CD Projekt Red seems to have a go, no-go meeting sometime more than 91 days before the launch of the game. And if they haven't reached a certain level of quality by that date, then it's a no-go, and the launch date is reconsidered. That's how it works. It could be that they knew the problem was there a month ago, but the point of no return is when the decision was made. And when it all comes down to it, there needs to be a specific deadline set for these kinds of decisions. Coming from Star Citizen, it's weird to see these responses as fans of the project are used to hearing about these meetings every quarter, or seeing these delays every month. And all of this is just a reminder of why most of the time the end user is not allowed to see the pie making process. 'Cause it's ugly. And sometimes, just sometimes, a release might be changed to a more logical date. I don't believe that's the case here, but I can see why some may come to that conclusion. In the end though, Cyberpunk 2077 will release at some point, and it will be as good as the company is able to make it. I'm sure they aren't sitting at their office twiddling their thumbs and cashing checks. They are working their absolute hardest to make a dream become reality, and to make some money for themselves and, of course, their investors. And personally, I hope they succeed. I don't think they'll lose many sales in the long run if it's a good game. Especially considering, in the grand scheme of things, these delays are not that extreme. And I highly doubt the game will ever see the half-decade-long delays of the single-player counterpart to Star Citizen, Squadron 42. So I think we all good. But with all this being said, I will say that I'm not happy with how the game has been marketed so far in the last year or so, which is to say, not very much. With all of this uncertainty, it is nice to have a little more to go off of, which I'm hoping will begin to be remedied starting tomorrow with Nightwire. Thanks for sticking around and watching this video. If you liked it, make sure to give it a thumbs up, and if you didn't like it, go ahead and give it a thumbs down. Share it with other fans, and if you want to keep discussing the game, feel free to hop down in the comments and voice your opinion, or join my Discord for the deeper conversation. Of course, you can find me across all social media and hit me up there as well. And finally, for more content on Cyberpunk 2077 and other sci-fi games, make sure to subscribe and stay up to date with Space Tomato.